back to the channel. Today we'll be making a delicious pollo en fricassé. This is the Puerto Rican version of a classic dish that fuses a rich broth with juicy chicken, perfect for a cold, rainy day. Remember that all ingredients will be listed in the description box below. Let's get cooking. Okay, so here I have about 7 pieces of dark meat chicken that have been washed and rinsed with cold water and vinegar. I have a couple of drums and a couple of boneless chicken thighs. I also scored my chicken a little bit with a knife so that the seasonings can seep in during the marination process. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and marinate my chicken. I'm gonna start by adding a generous amount of extra virgin olive oil, followed by a couple of cloves of smashed garlic. I have about 4 or 5 garlic cloves here. And next, I'm going to generously sprinkle some black pepper and then some sea salt. Okay, so after I've added my spices, I'm gonna rub that in and I'll marinate it for at least 2 hours or overnight so that the chicken can get a really nice flavor. Okay, so next I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle some extra virgin olive oil into my very hot pan. And then after I made sure that the pan is nice and hot, I'm gonna add some diced cooking ham and brown that up. So after my ham is nice and golden, I'm gonna remove it and set it aside. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and add my marinated chicken into my hot pan, and I'm gonna try to brown both sides of the chicken. The goal is not to cook the chicken through, we just wanna brown it up a bit on both sides so that flavor can come through much better. Make sure you don't leave any of that garlic marinade out. Okay, so now that my chicken is nice and golden on both sides, it's time to create the best part, the stew. Here, I have about 1/3 cup of fresh homemade sofrito, a couple of olives, and some pimientos. Next, I'm gonna add some tomato sauce, about 1/2 cup or so. And then to add some deep richness to my stew, I'm gonna throw in about 1/4 cup of red wine. Here I'm using Merlot, but any bold red wine is fine. Alright, and don't forget to add that diced cooking ham from earlier. Followed by about 3 cups of water, or until everything is nice and covered with some room for our root vegetables. Then next, my spices. Here I have 1 packet of Goya Sazón with achiote and 1/2 teaspoon of dry oregano. If you don't want to use Goya Sazón, you feel free to use some annatto oil or even some annatto powder. And then the last of my spices is 1 bay leaf. So a lot of people wonder how to get their stews or their broths nice and thick and rich. The key is root vegetables. Here I'm gonna add about 2 large pieces of some yuca root, in English it's called cassava, and some carrots and potatoes. The starches from these vegetables is what helps thicken up the broth really nicely. Okay, so now the very last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a very light sprinkle of some salt. Remember, I had already salted my chicken during the marination process, so I wanna be careful to not over salt my stew. I suggest starting at about half a teaspoon at a time and then check for taste. Okay, so after I've moved my stew around to distribute all the spices, I'm gonna cover my pan and I'm gonna cook my stew for about 45 minutes to an hour over medium heat until my root vegetables are nice and tender. So it's been about an hour and oh my goodness, did this Enfricasé turn out amazing. The root veggies are so tender and the meat is almost falling off the bone. So now would be a good time to check for salt content. And for the finishing touch, I'm gonna throw in a handful of freshly chopped cilantro. So if you've made it to the very end of the video, you're amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to hit the notification bell because a new video will be updated weekly. Thanks again. Until next time.